Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm going to give everybody a chance to get in really quickly to our webinar. Thank you, everyone. We have our chat open if you have questions as we go through this, and we'll go ahead and get started. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm Carol Leishow, Director of Sales at IntelliBoard, and we're thrilled to have Dr. Scott Wicker here with us in conversation. And he is the Associate Vice Chancellor of Southern University Baton Rouge, and he is leading the strategic data leadership across their campus. And he's joining us today to share how he has put their strategic plan into action through using learning analytics. So we'll go to the next slide. In our session today, you're going to learn lots of different things. Hopefully, you'll bring some really strong tips and tricks and strategies away for your own campus and institution. So we will learn about how Southern is using real-time data to strengthen their retention and compliance strategies, how we're going to explore how they have brought their strategic plan to life through actionable learning analytics, and then taking away practical tips and tricks that are proven approaches to building a sustainable and data-informed culture on your own campus. So again, the chat is open, Q&A is open. Drop anything that you may have and ask, and we'll try to weave them in as we go or answer them at the end. So before we get it started into our story, I want to give a quick overview of IntelliBoard, who we are, what we do. So IntelliBoard is a learning analytics platform that transforms data to drive campus-wide action. So we triangulate the data between your LMS, so Canvas, Blackboard, Moodle, or D2L, with the key fields in your SIS around learner and course information. And we do that to surface critical in-term insights that drive quick strategic action. So you'll hear in our conversation today the many ways this can be used to align with institution-wide strategic planning, empowering student mentors with real-time data. So, for example, advisors actually seeing their students' grades, course engagement information in real time instead of waiting on that mid or end of term data to make decisions. So that helps them make those really needed early alerts driven and automated by the data itself. So if you'd like to see what this could look like for your institution, scan the QR code here. We'll have it again at the end of our deck. And we'll talk about a special offer, which I'm really excited to be able to offer to those who are attending today's webinar at the end of the presentation. So let's get into the conversation. So as we shift into the broader landscape, we're going to talk about what's happening across HBCUs and MSIs more generally. We're seeing really incredible momentum around using data, not just for compliance, but for student care and success. So, Scott, from your perspective, what trends are you seeing in how HBCUs and other MSIs are using data right now?
First, good morning. Good morning to all. Good morning, Carol. And to answer your question, from the HBCU and MSI lens, everyone is reprioritizing the focus on 4-year completion. This is aligning to the Big Beautiful Bill. This is aligning to state performance funding metrics, and we're really looking at ensuring students can graduate in 4 years. But in order to do that, we have to look at academic progression, which is done on an annual basis, and also persistence, and that's between terms. So one of the big things everyone is focusing on is student success, or some people call it learner success, on the weekly basis. So how can we identify students who are at risk early and do an early intervention to ensure that they persist and progress and retain and graduate in 4 years?
Yeah, amazing. So are there particular challenges that you would say are maybe unique to MSIs or HBCUs that make this real-time learning data and weekly learner progress especially valuable?
Yes, because HBCUs and MSIs have a long history of having almost open accessibility. So we say come as you are, and we will make sure to put the resources around you. We would call wraparound services to take you how you are and bridge you to where you need to go. And so,
Mhm.
in the population that we serve, not everyone have access to the resources that other people may have. So some people come in with deficiencies that we need to quickly and early identify and then put the necessary supports in place. And this is the beautiful partnership we have with you all as IntelliBoard, is we're leveraging this as a compliance to actually start seeing what's happening real time in the grade books in Canvas and coordinating that with the banner cohorts.
Yeah, that's great. That goes right into even the next slide too, that talking specifically about the Southern University system and the presidential strategic pillar. So, can you talk a little bit more about what you all are doing in the strategic pillars and the work you're specifically doing with data and data governance and how those are being bridged with the learning data?
So yes, first let me start off by saying this is President Dennis Shields. This is his three presidential strategic pillars that he set for the system. So we're a historically Black college and university. We're the only system as a HBCU. And so as the president, he established pillar one, which is around student success, and he has a subcategory where we have to do at-risk interventions, early at-risk interventions so that we can ensure learner success or student success. The second pillar is stewards of place. This is the wraparound services. Are we providing accessible, easy access to the resources that we have to the population that we serve? Are we being very stewards of the infrastructure and the technology and resources that we have? And then here's the other part where we partner well with IntelliBoard, or the diversifying revenue. And so from this, we developed the customized dollars at risk. So how do we identify at early at-risk students, but then because of the executive leadership, what is the potential loss in revenue for the diversifying revenue part?
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get into the details for those of you who may have questions or are curious about how this works, how we're doing this data triangulation, and we'll get into the details of that specific use case here in a little bit. The last question I have on this part, Scott, is why, of all the different tech tools and things that are out there, why do you feel like a learning analytics tool like IntelliBoard was what you needed to be able to bring this to life and make it feel more essential and not just optional?
Because this is giving us the compliance piece, and it's giving us the early intervention, kind of sort of predictive piece of what's there. Then the ease of working with the customized reports that you all partnership with us, of making sure we have the customized reports that it can be done on a daily basis based off of the grade book and how the instructors are behaving in the course, how the students are behaving in the course. It gives us everything in once, an ability to triangulate, especially from pulling from Banner the actual billing statements from each student. So it's not just a roundabout number, it pulls in the actual student's
Mhm.
information to give you a very defined dollar value that's possibly at risk.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So previous to this, having maybe midterm or end of term data to make decisions on was kind of the way it was going. And then now this has changed to be something that's more real time, weekly, so that those decisions are more proactive.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's great. Let's get into the next question here. So, we're talking about a playbook for student success. So, want to understand you've got this kind of clear vision where you want this to go as an institution-wide strategy, but we've got to do the first thing. So, my question is in order to bring this to life, what was the first thing that you did to put things into place?
So the first thing that we did, we have to make sure that our executive leadership is on board with understanding the support and resources that we need. So what does that really mean? One, in order for us to have early intervention and to really do this on a weekly basis, daily to weekly basis, we have to have buy-in from executive leadership, also from the deans, chairs, and faculty of the importance of maintaining your grade book in a timely manner, preferably not less more than a week. So this is the first thing that you must do is make sure that faculty are leveraging the Canvas or their learning management system, keeping their grades up to date and timely so that we could pull the compliance report to see where everyone is so that we could do early interventions to those cohorts and to those populations that need it.
So, what did this look like? Because it's a great first step, right? You centralize where the grading is located so that you can pull the real-time snapshots of student success and risk to make decisions on. What did the rollout of that particular policy look like, feel like on campus?
So that rollout started, we actually kicked it off in the board meeting. It was something that Chancellor Pierre, our Southern University Baton Rouge main campus chancellor, we talked about the opportunities to enhance this relationship. So from there, we rolled it out to the board. Then we talked to it weekly about the deans and chairs of that importance of ensuring that you're using the system as deans and chairs to go in and track what the faculty are doing and to do early interventions with the faculty and the students simultaneously around a communication strategy. So the biggest part of is communicating the benefits of following up from the compliance standpoint to giving little nudges to say, hey, you probably need to get your grades and we need to go ahead and get those grades graded and posted so we can realistically see where the students are daily or within the week so that we can do their intervention strategies and to get ahead of resources that is needed from the top down to the bottom down so that we can reallocate everything as needed because every cohort's a little different of their needs.
Right, absolutely. So that real-time snapshot as a baseline to know really what's happening and that you're looking at real data. That's not just, well, how long has it been since this has been updated? But if you've got that one singular compliance policy and strategy in place, you can really start extracting reality from it and then organizing it by cohorts, which we'll see here shortly. And I do want to say here that we've got this new, very special dashboard called Grading Progress Monitoring, where it actually showcases is this policy being adhered to by instructors across campus? Do they have 7 days or more where things are not being graded? So that this really does empower deans and chairs, department program heads to be able to really enact the policies that are being put in place top down. So let's go ahead and go into the next slide. We're going to get into the actual strategy here that they have rolled out at Southern University. So it's been a threefold process. It's been so exciting to be part of all of this as we've been navigating simultaneous things and different groups on campus and working with all of them as individuals. But in the three different groups that we've rolled out dashboards to, the deans and department chairs, the executive leadership, and then different managers of cohorts, which we will get into. So, can you walk us through why we structured it this way with you all? Why these three groups and what makes these three groups having access to their learning data successful?
Yes, for this three structures that we're looking at, we started with the deans and chairs. And so to give context, the way that we're restructuring the Division of Academic Affairs, we let the deans and chairs know that we're a resource here for the deans and chairs to best lead and manage their colleges respectively. So we work collaboratively with the deans and chairs. So we don't want to go in and tell them what they need to do. We need to get the buy-in from the deans and chairs, but also to put the tools in the hands so that they would have opportunities to see all of the courses under their catalog. They can see how the chairs and the deans and the faculty are integrating with it. And I think we appreciate you all participating with us last summer or this summer in June at our Deans and Chairs retreat to have a big, massive kickoff where you're able to go into some of the dashboards. And we've had multiple touch points to do the dashboard levels and how to use it to ensure everyone have the appropriate access to then start restricting access to only see their the courses under their departments. So that was a big piece of it. And then now we're starting to position ourselves to roll out to the faculty so that they could see what we're seeing in this too. the executive leadership part and the HBCU MSI, we know that if the board and the president and the chancellors do not buy into it, then we'll never procure it. So we have to give them the high level benefits of how we could customize reports specifically to their requests, how it aligns to the strategic pillars for the president, and then how we can leverage this to give insight between fiscal years and academic years with the caveat of here's the return on investment. So if we reduce the number of at-risk students, we should have more stable stability in revenue generation, that third pillar, for us to do more dollars to do other things as other interventions and put there. The cohort managers piece become very critical because now we're looking at specific cohorts. Everybody do their first year, first time, full time degree seeking candidates as a tracking for that cohort because that establishes your retention and progression and 4 year graduation rate. So we're always doing that. But then for us, as a HBCU MSI, we know we have the athletics, and then for HBCUs, we have the bands, the marching bands, which is something that we was really excited here over the last couple of weeks. We were able to add that cohort. So it gives up that real-time interventions by cohorts, and then we can have different allocations of resources that's specific to that cohort group. And this IntelliBoard with the compliance and this partnership allow us to do this at a very high level.
Amazing. That's a great overview. And we'll get into the details for those of you watching for each of these different groups. But I think the last question on the broader scale, Scott, is any takeaways that are like big shifts that you have seen once any of these groups have now gotten access to the data in real time instead of waiting for end of semester or semester over semester data to look back on. So, and any shifts that you noticed for each of these groups.
Yes, the conversations and the action items and the benefits are shifting. Once everyone get into the system and begin to truly leverage the system, they're able to bring more innovative approaches to early interventions. They're able to start looking at and disaggregating to see, okay, what is the correlations between what's happening, boots on the ground in the classroom to the grade book, what's going on. So those are the major shifts. The other major shift for the Division of Academic Affairs is we're getting the ability to actually curate very specific communication strategies to these three distinct cohorts. Everyone want to hear something different, and your talk to them is different, and what their interests are different. So this is giving us the opportunity to apply those very specific communication strategies to have the broader impact.
Absolutely. So the visibility gave them the insight to be able to make targeted next steps, strategic next steps for the different groups. And it's nimble enough when you have that time on your side to really reach out to those groups and say, hey, I've noticed these things about your engagement, or student behavior in the course, rather than asking, hey, how are things going? And that strategic conversation of, I see you, it's intentional, there's this community of care kind of being built around having access to data like this. It's an amazing, yeah, it's an amazing overview and plan. So we can get into the details of it. So the next tier we have is focusing around the deans and chairs dashboards specifically. So the original challenge was around limited visibility. I think that's kind of the general challenge across all of these different user groups. And for anyone who's not inside the LMS, they have limited visibility. If you don't have access to that real-time data because you're not a system administrator or a teacher, or someone who has administrative rights in the LMS, you might be lagging in this visibility awareness of how students are doing, or that student specific view. Or for deans and chairs, instructor specific view. How are instructors behaving? How are instructors engaging? What's the RSI component in that? So they had limited visibility. These real-time dashboards give them that automated accountability check for those conversations. And then that greater transparency, like you just said, Scott, gives them more targeted conversations that they can have to really move the needle. So we can get into the next slide to give some example. These are some example dashboards that they have. So as we've seen this rollout, I know we did a couple of different trainings with deans and chairs, I think the course readiness was one of those small but mighty rollouts to them. Maybe let's talk about that kind of story of just the small but mighty data set that they had at the onset of the semester and like your experience with that.
Yeah, and I think at the top we do want to remind, because I know people probably in the audience thinking about the academic freedom and how we're navigating this. This is what Carol really pointed out. The IntelliBoard allows it to overlay over the top of your learning management system where it pulls in the data without necessarily letting the dean or chair go directly into the learning management system and be in their class, which could then impact their instructional design. And you don't have to worry about editors' right and observers' right. So this is the brilliant piece of IntelliBoard being a compliance, because it pulls in all of the necessary stuff without giving direct access to the deans and chairs to go into the actual class and have editor's privilege. So we want to put that up front when we start talking about these dashboards. Everything is adhered to: the transparency, the privacy, the academic freedom, and the invitation to come into the course. Now, getting into the course readiness, into the different dashboard, this gives us insight as we leading into open up the semester. This let us know to do very intentional nudges to those faculty members who have not published their course, who have not added a syllabus, who have not worked into their course. So the ultimate thing from the customer service or the unit care, we don't want students to be into a course that's not published and then they're wondering what's going on. We don't want students to be into a course that's published that doesn't have a syllabus, a welcome start here. So all of your instructional design principles come into place. This is give the deans and chairs the ability leading up to the semester or the first day of class to ensure that all these classes are open, available, and that they've had some instructional design applied. So for Southern University, we have over 60 academic programs. Just this fall alone, we have 2,047 published courses that we're monitoring real time. And IntelliBoard being a compliance allow us to see all 2,047 courses, of which courses are ready for deploy for the first day of class.
And whenever you're allowing and permitting and empowering your deans and chairs to be overseeing their departments and their programs, it doesn't fall just on the higher level academic affairs to start monitoring and creating compliance around those 2000 plus courses, right? So that giving the ownership back to deans and chairs who really do own those courses and that they are in compliance is it's one of my favorite small but mighty reports because if we are all aligned before the semester kicks off and it really is right on track. It feels like we're starting off on a right foot, very proactive, very intentional, and the notifications piece can be leveraged right inside the platform. So any of the courses that are not within compliance, a quick notification in the platform can be sent straight to the instructor to tell them, hey, go ahead and change this or that aspect or make sure it's published or I noticed all the students have access, but I noticed you haven't accessed yet. So anything around those is it creates that just general compliance strategy overall. And that's one of the several dashboards that we decided to roll out to the deans and chairs. So we can go to the next slide and showcase this. So Scott, I have to give you most of the credit on this that we collaborated together on a rollout strategy. With every institution is different and every institution's culture is different as well in terms of how we like or don't like technology or how we have done things the way we have always done things, all of this kind of thing. And so we've collaborated together to provide your deans and chairs with this specific strategy. So I'd love to hear you kind of talk about how this got formulated and how you have seen it being used.
So from this aspect, this is the planning, and this is the in my title on accountability and accreditation purposes, and this being in that world of accreditation is developing a plan through shared governance, implementing the plan, and evaluating how effective are we what implementing that plan and what is the impact of what we do. This is how these recommended strategies came about. We're looking at a semester leading up to the semester, what happens the first week of semester or the first couple weeks of the semester from our HBCU MSI perspective, this is census reporting. Majority of our portfolio are Pell eligible students, and we get federal financial aid. So there's some housekeeping things that we must do to validate that the students are here, and that's what helps with the first 4 weeks. But then throughout the semester, due to the student success strategic pillar number one, early interventions for at-risk students, but also tracking inactivity of students. That is very useful data points. And then as we're getting toward the end of this semester, we're looking at closing out the semester. So being in this world, even though we're saying closing out the semester, we're actually saying that we're simultaneously closing out this semester while opening up the next semester because you're
Right.
planning, you're closing one and opening the other one. But again, this was really important for our deans and chairs retreat. This is a really good checklist for our deans and chairs. This is actually leads our weekly dean's meeting. We do ask the deans about where we are in this area and have you utilized your IntelliBoard and what did you find from your dashboards that you're possibly running. These are follow up on a weekly basis of we call in SMART goal meetings to ensure that we're looking at these recommended strategies, deploying the strategies, and then what are we finding and what are the deans and chairs doing as intervention strategies. And then we ask, what resources do you need? In order to help you implement this and follow up of what your goal that you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, it's amazing because, you think about getting an entire group on campus adopted to a brand new technology. We all know that that takes a lot. It can feel overwhelming, especially for varying degrees of interest in attempting a new thing or having something else, shift their workflows. So building out this strategies document together of you're going to use this dashboard for these purposes at this time really helped alleviate some of the learning curve, and helped improve the use of it. And then when the visual is seen of this data really does help long term with my decisions, my conversations, it kind of created a real natural adoption tactic that you've been able to put into place, which is really amazing. I want to go
And
on
then,
to,
Carol,
oh, go
to
ahead.
add to that, and this goes back to the relationship with the board and our executive leadership, we did share this in the board development. And subsequently, a couple of weeks ago, they actually requested specific information about inactive faculty and inactive students. So they are participating and they're looking at it. We actually gave board members access to IntelliBoard and we walked them through a training so that they can hold us accountable. Again, my title come in accountability of accountability. So they can hold us accountable, and they are. They're requesting very specific information of who have not logged into the system within the last 5 or 7 days. They're very specific, which is the language that you all did for us, and they asking about the learners and at-risk students simultaneously.
It's great. I mean, having that tiered approach, it's important, right? If you're going to have, dashboards on instructor behavior, having an instructor dashboard simultaneous where there's mutual ownership as well. I mean, it's really such a team effort, to keep us all on track, and moving forward. So it's really great. I want to move into the executive leadership story because it's such a specific and unique story to you all that, I love how we've been able to collaborate together to really bring this to life, for the executive leadership, which has been a specific triangulation of the data between Canvas and Banner and pulling in some really specific key areas. So both this story and the cohort story that we'll tell in our third topic as well are the just a few of the very many ways that you can uniquely pull SIS information in to triangulate with the LMS information and showcase and illuminate certain realities inside IntelliBoard. And this specific reality was the tuition revenue at risk associated with students at risk. So if we want to go to the next slide and talk a little bit more about it. So Scott, kind of just walk us through how we envision this, how it works, and how it's being used, on an executive level.
So part of the executive insights, we're rolled this out weekly, but really we have these progress report campaigns that we leverage every 3 weeks within the 16-week semester. So that gives us very targeted information to ensure that every faculty have their grade book updated. From that, we then set the system of this custom dashboard that we built. If we look at students who are at risk for failing two or more courses after each progress report and or weekly, it then go ahead and generate what are the dollars that's associated with that specific student within that class and that year. And they could say, hey, this how many students for this progress campaign of where we do this checkpoint, this is the potential dollars at risk if we don't do an intervention. We know that executive leadership want to know how much something is going to cost, what's the return on investment, what's the impact, how can we market it, how can we leverage it to ensure that we're being able to recruit more students, but also how can we get funding back in the hands of staff and faculty to get to reward them, incentivize them. So this becomes super important as major insights because we put dollars at our decisions. So what decisions we make, what policies we make, was the potential diversification of revenue and or revenue impact that this is going to have. So again, this is all predicated on students, faculty being data stewards, and faculty have to have the buy-in to ensuring they doing this on a daily or weekly basis so we can get a realistic look at what students are doing in the classes. Remember, two or more, if a student is failing two or more classes, and that's failing for us is D, F, and if a W is there too, we're looking at that and it aligns to academic standings also.
Yeah, absolutely. And even ways that this can be expanded is you can bring in maybe probationary status or a cohort specific status. So say I want to check out the dollars at risk associated with this particular grouping of students, like first gen, first time full-time freshmen, anything around that, or certain majors, departments, and programs to be able to manage those with fiscal responsibility as well. I mean, it's such an amazing report to see how these two data sets or these two systems that hold data, we don't, the goal of IntelliBoard is never to just create more and more data noise where there are a lot of really great data warehouse tools, but what we want is to pull in the data that eliminates current snapshots of reality that decisions can be made on, and you can make a real difference with it. And this is an amazing example of one that you all have been able to envision within the triangulation of those data sets. So, can you talk a little bit more about how this specific data both informs the board meetings and the executive leadership decision making, as well as the full student life cycle back all the way to conversing with enrollment management about their plans and decisions?
So this one we touched on it at the board development, but we really haven't did a deep dive with the board yet. But we're still in the process of rolling it out to Chancellor Pierre and to President Dennis Shields so that we can make sure we're level setting across the data structure and data architecture so that they could fully understand what's going on. I know we've had Dr. Loria Young, our Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, and we went through this platform, this dashboard to really go through it. Now, the second part of it, we do have a weekly meeting with our enrollment management, and we're haven't did a deep dive with them just yet because I know we're making sure that we're all understanding the data, the triangulation between the banner, making sure that it's set internally. We're making sure that we capture the deans and chairs what they would like to see, how they interpret it. Biggest thing that we make sure we have to gain trust for executive leadership and board members. We have to be clear, concise, distilled to what it is that they want to. So we're piloting, making sure that we understand how people are engaging with this, how they're interpreting it, because from our first rollout, we did see that massive number of students who are at risk that made us say, oh, okay, we need to be very mindful how we do this one. But
Sure.
in this case, the beautiful thing about it, it pulls in the banner information, the advisor information, but it's very specific to their billing statement of what federal aid that they receive. And that was very powerful, seeing that the actual dollar values vary by student. So you get a realistic dollars at risk for students, and it gives us ability to change it from two or more courses to three or four courses that you could then filter by.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and recognizing the power of a dashboard like this and that it doesn't need to just be an immediate turn on rollout to everyone and everything. It needs to be really cared for, honed, understood, and even that our teams are able to get to work together to tweak. Well, maybe let's kind of think through what is at risk for our institution. What does that truly mean for us? And be able to focus in on the right filtering so that the right data is illuminated for the decisions to be made. So it's such an amazing strategic rollout and seeing that there is a vision for this full student life cycle across departments with data like this, which has shown me so much that Canvas data is not just for Canvas admins and teachers and students. It's for everyone. And it's about, bringing the data in a smart, creative, strategic way for the right roles across the institution, to be able to make differences, with that data. So let's go on to our last topic here of cohorts. So specifically with athletics, which is what we've seen as a rollout at Southern University. So, one of the things I love about your approach and your approach at the institution is just how intentional you all are about equity and focusing on student cohorts, and different groups and making sure that they're seen and supported by their different mentors or groups across campus. So, we've talked a lot about in the two of us in conversations over the months and years is athletics, first time full-time freshmen. You mentioned the band students, which is something we were going to talk about. So why I want to ask is why is it important to include specialized cohorts, like athletes in your rollout?
So this one is listening to athletics. We're again partnering with athletics and listening to their needs of what 400 to 500 students, and you have 3 to 4 advisors. And this is an NCAA requirement, and this is, I think, it's called an APR report. So they're required to do this at a very high level. And what does that mean? Now with the advisors and this partnership and this compliance and giving looking specifically at those athletes cohorts, now the advisors can go into the meeting with them with having prior knowledge of where they realistically are in the course. Prior to that, our athletic advisor, they just have to rely solely on the student or the student athlete to give the information. And then we know that some of our young people, they're very vague when they answer their question. So they may say, "Oh yeah, I'm doing well." Okay, what does that mean? Now, in the hands of the athletic advisor and to any advisors, now they can do their prior homework to say, "No, this is where you are in this instructor dashboard or this dashboard. Here's what your grade is. Here's what your grade is versus the average of the grades in the class." But then you can look at it by assignment. So you could say, yeah, you're saying you're fine, but your grade book is not really saying you're fine. What do you need to be successful? Let us go ahead and reallocate resources so that we can ensure your learner success. Hey, I think we need to buckle down and we need to put you in the tutoring area so that we can do these early interventions instead of doing this after the semester has expired and after the final grade has been administered. Now you can do this on a weekly or biweekly basis, however, the athletics and or cohort group, however frequently you want to meet with them. This went so well with the athletics and what turning this out, they got super excited. We're super excited that they're using it at a very high level for advising. Now it then trickled over to our wonderful marching band, and we was able to get that cohort built just last week. And I think the athletic director, not director, athletic advisors and myself are going to be meeting with the marching band advisors to do the same thing, to look at the cohort, to look at the students so that when they go into the meeting with the marching band students, they're able to say, this is where you realistically are. This is what we need you to do. This is the plan of action. This is the requirements that we need you to do to ensure your learner success.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been very fun, just personally speaking, to see the specific athletic story kind of unfold across campus. And we have lots of different clients where this is the case because often these specialized cohort groups, so you've got several of these listed here. So imagine you're an institution, you've got one or a type of this group on campus that it would be amazing to be able to track their real-time learning data and statuses and risk, not just based on an instructor manually raising the flag, but the instructor, bypassing that, need for human intervention to be able to raise the flag, but to be able to have the data itself showcase and illuminate where there is true learner risk inside the course for these various groups. So what's often such a challenge and a pain point for our clients are not being able to access the LMS because they can't get enrolled in all these courses and it's just not set up that way. And so having this dashboard shown here, the learner success dashboard, just being able to be deployed to these various cohort mentors across campus, so that they have that access. And I love even the conversation that we had with Miss Dillon, and her quote was here on the previous slide. But even being able to show, because we came to campus and showed this to her in real time, and to hear her say, like, I've been trying to have access to this for so long, and it's really hard to be able to be allowed and permitted to do that because of security and permissions and things that are all very, very important. But even within an hour of giving access to this, the very next conversation with an athlete coming to her office went from her saying, "Hey, how's it going in class?" to being told, "Fine." That's of course, right? That's just how it goes. Like you had said, and understandably, right? It's like I don't want to get into the details if we don't need to. I'm handling it. I'm figuring it out, right? But then, she was able to say, "Hey, I noticed these specific things. I noticed this is your current grade. I noticed this is how you did on that quiz. I noticed these things. Now that I've noticed them, here's my encouragement and strategy as your mentor to be able to take the next steps and empowering the students with what they didn't know they needed." And so that's just how we've seen that kind of roll out across campus. And then you said we're kind of taking a next step specifically with the band students for you all. So why that group? Why that cohort next? What's the focus there for you?
So we're at Southern University. We're the world famed the human jukebox. So we make sure we provide them with the resources to be successful. They are a major marketing strategy for Southern University. We take them everywhere. We promote them. If you notice, they were on TV early part of this year. They had a whole 3-week tour in California where they did a tremendous job of recruiting. And we're seeing it in our enrollment management early in our enrollment management for building the fall 2026. And also, too, just for everyone who's wondering how we do this, there are two distinct ways from the techie side where IntelliBoard really helps. So for the athletics and for the band, all we had to do was get the first and last name and their U number because we're a banner institute. And that's all we needed to share with IntelliBoard. And it instantly created these cohorts for everyone to quickly track. The other way that you would have to do it is the advisors would have to be updated in Banner one by one and based off of the primary, secondary, or tertiary advisors directly in Banner, in which IntelliBoard pulls that information in also and creates a dashboard. So there's two distinct ways. The first way was super easy. So just remember, if you want to do your cohort, if you know first, last name, and the unique identifier such as a U number, IntelliBoard partner with it and quickly build it so that you could track it and put it in that specific athletic advisor or marching band advisor so they could instantly see all of their students as soon as they open up on the screen. So that's the other really cool part of it, and on top of looking at the data real time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's helpful also to see because this could potentially for some be interpreted as like a big, giant, overwhelming project. And I love that you emphasized how easy and simple it can be also, that you can have this really powerful data right at your fingertips in close to real time. So I want to move on to just kind of general summaries here. So meaningful outcomes. I want to know, like, what have been the most meaningful outcomes? We talked about your playbook, your strategy, how we've rolled this out, but just some key wins, since doing this, since bringing it to life.
The key win was really getting engaged in the grade book and these dashboards, really giving us the compliance. To your point, the strategy of approaching the semester, what's happening in the first 2 weeks of the semester as you're approaching midterm and closing out. These were really good wins from the accountability oversight, but also from the compliance of not as an I got you moment. It actually is, hey, what are the resources? And then working with Dr. Young, she's going out and making sure we get the resources to give to the faculty, to give to the chairs and the deans. And again, really highlighting a collaborative approach moving forward. Hey, let's be transparent, let's be accountable, let's have shared governance in this, let's have oversight, let's talk about what's the best way to serve our clients and how can we be innovative and thoughtful and ethical and responsible about it. This is the really big wins, impactful wins, and not just being transactional and being reactive after the semester is over. We're proactive and super intentional with the dashboards.
Absolutely. And giving that proactivity and enablement across campus to different groups to be proactive with the students or areas that they're already responsible for, and then having a tool that gives them the ability to be strategic and proactive, like you said, instead of reactionary. That's really amazing. So, the next question and last question I have for you is just for anyone who's here and watching and thinking, how on earth do we start with this? Or even I see this question here for Tammy, which is just a great lead in to what's next. So Tammy's written that culture change can't be mandated, it has to be modeled, which is something I know you have done so well. And we haven't talked about that, but I know everyone here sees how much that's been displayed with your intentionality and care. So how are you cultivating a mindset of curiosity and collaboration around the data rather than maybe fear or resistance? If you could answer that question.
So that one, it goes with what we just was talking about. Please, any institution, as you start using this, even though we're saying we're using it as a compliance, we're using it as a collaborative compliance of saying, hey, we want to partner with you. We want to help you look for resources. We're not trying to say, I got you, and now it's punitive. So we're moving in a non-punitive direction. We know that we're all developing this together collaboratively. We have to develop trust. We have to develop transparency to move us into a performance realm. So please, institutions, please use this and as you do it. The second part of this, please have a clear strategy, implement that strategy, and stay on communication tasks. Be clear your expectations, be clear of your finding, but also leave room for ownership and benefits. So listen, and then implement and evaluate again the accreditation piece coming in. How do we improve? You leverage this for improvements. It's here. Everyone has to be at the table, those stakeholders for shared governance. That's why I wanted to pause earlier and say we're not infringing on academic freedoms. We're
Right.
respecting it. We're invitation. If they invite us to come into the class, we're inviting, but we're here to dispel and miss. The data is really accurate. So we're really making sure that we press to let everyone know here's the real data. Here's the transparency. It's not just falsified, it's actually here. Let's talk about it. Let's go through. highlight the benefits, and then how can we collaborate together. So collaboration, communication, consistently following through. We do this on a weekly basis, and then giving the space for people to be innovative and to IntelliBoard's partnership uh, opportunity. You all are really listening to us and helping us develop customized reports, customized things from the executive level to mid level to the faculty level. And I look forward to this January rolling this out to all of the faculty. That's where we'll really hit the ground running.
Yeah, absolutely. And then using curiosity with the data, I've seen too, is just a really small but mighty. You mentioned this too, Tammy, about using curiosity with the data. So with the cohort groups, being encouraged and instructed to use this data to ask questions or lead into conversations with curiosity and not with, aggression or truth claims or statements, but using it as a way in to conversation. So it's illuminating realities, and then where can we go from there? And whenever these groups across campus really do actually see that this is benefiting their workflows, it's helping them to see what they're required to do and then take the best next step with it. There's a lot of buy-in once the different groups have it. So it's a great question. I think the last one I want to ask to Scott, if there's anything maybe you wish you'd known before you began or started all of this, whether it was a journey with IntelliBoard, whether it was just your data governance strategy and compliance across institutions, just something you wish you'd known or advice you'd like to give to anyone else.
No, the only thing that I did pick up in this is when you're going through across three different levels, practice your data visualization and your data communication. Know your target audience and get to know your target audience so that you can craft the message specifically to really get them to see the impact. I know early in this, we understood what IntelliBoard was, but then over the months of working with you all and customizing it, that actually gave us the space to really craft and curate the data visualization such that everyone who we're engaging with can see the benefits and impact. And I know Carol being modest, but we're looking at how do we roll this up to the system and get the other campuses involved in leveraging it. And so these have been strategic, intentional conversations to see how the other chancellors may want to use it, how the other academic vice chancellors may want to use it, and then letting them see the specific dashboards. So do take time to understand your strategic data leadership, especially around data visualization, but then you're crafting your very specific message to show the benefit, to show the impact and the return on investment.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Scott. Do you have any final closing thoughts from your side? Any like final takeaways for anyone?
Now, I look forward to see where the future is going as we roll this out for the rest of the faculty, as we keep looking at leveraging this for the system, but also as we get into curating more specific custom reports for our board members and our president and chancellor as they have their weekly meetings too from the cabinet, so that hopefully everything from strategic data leadership, we have customizable reports that they get every Monday morning at 9 o'clock before they go into their 10 o'clock meeting. That's the ultimate goal moving forward. And we do welcome other HBCUs and MSIs to come and participate, and let's share the best ways that we're using this because we all have the same, we shouldn't say, we're serving very similar populations and access, and we have the first gen students, Pell eligible students. Those students are coming in with opportunities for growth as we move forward. And we would love to get to start that routine conversations and share that moving forward.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, Scott. This has just been such an amazing conversation. And for those of you who are attending, I really hope this story has shown what's possible when the right people have the right access to tools and data that they need to make the decisions that they need to on campus. So this progress with retention and compliance and student success is not unique to Southern University Baton Rouge campus. It's repeatable, across different institutions. I hope you've been able to see that as well. So with a clear strategy and actionable insights, this could be your story too. So if you're ready to take the next step with IntelliBoard, if you would like to, if you want to learn a little bit more about us, I want to share that we are offering a special promotion for anyone who has attended the webinar. So if you can scan the QR code, or you're welcome to email me directly here. All the information is here, and will be emailed to you all after the webinar as well. So you can schedule your demo by December 31st. And then you will qualify for a special pricing promo from IntelliBoard as long as your quote is signed by March 31st. So it's a really exciting, specific promotion for this webinar, this story, for anyone who wants to really get started with their data. So, Scott, I want to just thank you again. We're so grateful for your attendance, for sharing your wisdom and your experience and your story, for all the work that you're doing to really better the world of higher education and students' lives. So thank you very much.
No, thank you all for the opportunity, and we really enjoy this partnership and collaboration as you are really listening to us, and we're really developing these more customized reports as we move forward. So thank you for that opportunity.
Of course, absolutely. And so thank you for those who are attending. If you want to hear some more success stories from other institutions that we partner with that are using learning data, we are actually interviewing 5 community college leaders from the North Carolina Community College System this week on November 13th. On their specific data strategies. So all of the follow-up you'll receive a registration link to register for that webinar as well. And any resources or QR codes or anything that have been in our presentation today will be sent in the follow-up. So want to say thank you all for coming and attending and participating. And I hope you all have a great upcoming week. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you.